So good to see you again. I will say to thank all of our sponsors for tonight. To thank Akiva and Chana Lawrence for dedicating the shir tonight with Hakar Satov to the Ribono Shalom and the entire shul community and the extended Jewish community, volunteers for so quickly helping to find and ensure the safety of their precious son on Simchas Torah. May all the missing sons and daughters, parents and grandparents, extended family and others, all being held captive, be missing no longer. May they be returned to their families b'shalom and b'karov. May we see Mashiach Mihira b'yameinu. And in honor of the collective shul's loving and in Meretz Hashem extension of Karbach Minyanim over the course of the coming year. I can't. It's a little blurry. It's a little blurry. I can't see it all.
I have it in mind too. I believe it was also in honor of the Rav's love of Nusach.
Right. We're not sure which Rav he's referring to, but okay. Hey Rav, there's a Rav out there. And to thank Joe Markovich for dedicating this year tonight in honor of his upcoming marriage to Leora Cohen Larson. Mazel tov, mazel tov.
All right.
And I will say again a tremendous thank you to Reb Tzvi. Where's Reb Tzvi? For the beautiful spread. Incredible. Reb Steve Galaskov is not here tonight. He's on He's in New York for the weekend. But again, Reb Steve always gets a tremendous shkoyach for just helping to coordinate and just everything. And of course, a thank you to our Baal Menagin, to Reb Zevi for the beautiful shira and the gina. It's always like the Piagetz taught us in B'nai Machshava Tova, the ability to start a shir Baruch Hashem with just a little bit of alechaim, a little bit of singing, changes everything. So also with that, let's begin. And of course, it's Rosh Chodesh. Thank you. Right, it's Rosh Chodesh. So Baruch Hashem, as it is Rosh Chodesh, it's Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. So the Chazal referred to Cheshvan as Mar Cheshvan. Now the truth is, it's not just like a nice little Mar. There's no Yom Tovim. Like there's a whole discussion about the name of the month being Mar Cheshvan. Like if you get married during Cheshvan in the Ksuva, we actually write Mar Cheshvan. So some say the name of the month is actually Marach Shivan. That's the name of the month. Mar Cheshvan is one. Okay, but of course we know just on a simple level, the month is called Mar Cheshvan because there are no Yomim Tovim. You come off a Tishrei, where every other day is a Yom Tov, and you come into Cheshvan, and there's a stretch. There's no Yomim Tovim. But so we call it Mar. It's bitter because there's no island, there's no oasis of Kedusha that we had in Tishrei. And it's always important to understand that Mar is the same word as Ram. Right? So whereas Mar means bitter, Ram means highest of high. And all it takes during this month is just a little bit more effort to switch the position of the letters. So what it means is in a month like Cheshvan, a Yid has to work just a little bit harder. A Yid has to daven with a little bit more kavanah. A Yid has to do a few more mitzvahs, engage in a few more chasadim, give a little bit more tzedakah, push ourselves. All you need to do is just to push a little bit, because the entire avodah of this month is just to switch the position of the mem with the reish. So right now, as we start the month, the mem is in front of the reish, and especially, so it's such an overwhelming week for Klal Yisrael. All of the losses in the battlefield, 7 lives which were lost from the rocket attack from Hezbollah in the north today. An overwhelming week. And not, to be honest, not the way we thought that the year was going to be. Remember again, we said it in Elul, we spoke about this idea of Tafshin Pei Hey, being Tehei Shnas Pirsum Hanes. That's what we need this year to be, as a year not of natural miracles, not of miracles embedded in the natural order of the world. We need Pirsum Nisa. We need public miracles. We need, as they say, Afan Nisim. I need overt miracles. I need overt miracles, and it's early in the year, but we start on one hand with such simcha, because you always have to be besimcha if you're a yid, but on the other hand with such heartbreak and such loss, and to a certain degree. In the beginning of this month of Cheshvan, we feel a little bit of the marirus, we feel a little bit of the bitterness. But as Rabbi Nachman, as the Piazetzna, as everyone we've learned by, has taught us over the years, that the Yid never gives in to feelings of despair, never gives up hope. So our entire avoda is just to turn the mar into a ram. And especially tonight, the Piazetzna's yard site is next week. I believe Tuesday night in Eretz Hashem. So next Thursday night we're going to do like a Hilula. Next week is Hilula, like it's a yard site Suda. It's a yard site Suda. Yeah, so we're going to go big. Right, extra chocolate. Beautiful. Keep the fries in the deep fryer a little bit longer, a little bit more oil. So essentially, again, sometimes you feel, sometimes even with all of the heartbreak, you feel like that things are lining up for something big. So we feel again that with a little bit more effort, we can make the Mar into a Ram. The Rebbe's yard site is coming up, and there's a special power that a tzaddik has on the yard site. So hopefully, again, with all of this together, Emir Hashem will be zocha to turn this from Mar Cheshvan, Emir Hashem into Ram Cheshvan. We'll be zocha, Emir Hashem, to see all of our precious hostages come home. We'll be zocha, Emir Hashem, to see our soldiers who are fighting Am Yisrael's and Eretz Yisrael's wars on multiple fronts be successful. B'chol Maaseh Yadeim. We'll be zocha, Emir Hashem, to see a month of incredible simcha, mazel, bracha, and besoros tovos for Am Yisrael. So both what I want to do tonight is something a little bit different. I know we're actually not so far off from finishing up Tzav Zerus, but I actually just wanted to share with you tonight a different piece. It's actually, I think, one of the most powerful pieces in Aish Kodesh, and it happens to be the Piazetzna Parshas Noach. So it's a piece of Parshas Noach, even though, again, you're going to see the Vart doesn't have that much to do with Parshas Noach. There's an interesting tie-in, but it's such a powerful Vart, and I think it ties into so much of what we need to focus on, especially in these times ahead. There should be enough sheets. Good? Going around still? Okay, so we'll say, so this is Parshas Noach, Tafshin Aleph, which was 1941. So 1941, Warsaw Ghetto, the Rebbe is giving Parshas Noach. So he writes over here in the front, on the top, Ela told us Noach ish tzadik tamim haya b'dorosov, esa elokim his halech Noach. So the Rebbe is focusing over here on that phrase, Esa Elokim is Halech Noach, which means that literally again, Noach walked with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Or really the better way to say it is, Noach was, this doesn't sound right, but Noach was walked, so to speak, by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he was supported. And Rashi HaKadosh comes, Perish Rashi, Noach hayot tzarich sa'ad l'tomcho. See, as opposed to Avram Avinu, Aval Avram hayot mischazek u'mahalech b'tzidko me'elav. Avram Avinu, because of his inherent personal righteousness, was able to walk on his own. Noach needed divine assistance. Now, the truth is, in general, I always feel like Noach gets dumped on a lot. Right? He really does. I just want to point out, just not that Noach needs me to defend him. He's probably looking down in Shemayim. He's like, this is the best I got. Like, Silber's defending me. Like, this is it. I'll say, not that Noach needs me to defend him. I will say, but I just want to point out, imagine being the only human being on the face of the earth who is following in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means all of your neighbors and all of your friends and all of the guys at Kiddush Club, right? And everyone else is doing their own thing, right? And not just their own thing. They're literally living lives of immorality and decadence. And you are the one person. See, everyone kind of takes it out on Noach. Noach didn't try to change the world. He wasn't like Avram Avinu. He didn't advocate. Okay. No one's perfect, but the inner strength that a person has to have to be able to stand up against the tide, to be able to stand up against the current, that literally all of humanity is doing one thing, and you decide that although everyone else is living a certain way, practicing a certain way, you're going to be different. That's a level of strength that I think, I don't know. I know for sure I would never have that level of strength. I think most of us wouldn't have that level of strength. So it's important to understand who we're talking about. So a lot of times, the reason why what ends up happening in the Mefarshim is that there's a contrast. So often, for whatever the reason, Rashi and others contrast Noach with Avram. That's also because you find a lot of symmetrical biblical expressions between Noach and Avram, almost as if the text itself is inviting us to compare. So as Avram Avinu walked on his own, Noach needed to be supported. Noach needed to be supported. That's Esai Elokim, his Halech Noach. That literally, again, that Noach was walked together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's reflexive, his Halech. He was walked together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning that the Rebbe Shalom propped him up. The Rebbe Shalom kept him up, kept him going. So look what the Piaget says. The Rebbe said, this is an incredible Gemara. An incredible Gemara. Ki Isa b'Sanhedrin. So this is what the Rebbe says. I'm on page Kuf Chav Tes. The first paragraph. So I meant to number the paragraphs. Okay, Ki Isa b'Sanhedrin. I'll tell you what I say. Sometimes it's good not to number the paragraphs. I remember when I was a young lad, and so when we were little. No, I'm not. When we were little, so my brother, my cousin, and I, we never went camp. Because my grandparents, after they came here after the war, settled in Vineland, New Jersey. My grandfather's Zichron was a chicken farmer, and he had like acres and acres of land. So we went there for the summer. It was great. So he used to learn with us every morning. I remember when I was a kid, they first came out with the Talmud Gemaras. All right, so none of you guys even know what I'm talking about anymore with the Talmud Gemaras, right? Because now everybody's the Oz V'Hadar, everything, right? So the brown one. So the Talmud was the first Gemara to bold the Divrei HaMaschil of Rashi, right? So you have to understand that was big stuff back in the day, right? Because it used to be like you had to find the Rashi, and so now if you have a Gemara that's not like Oz V'Hadar, doesn't have the psukim in the margin, you're like, I feel back like I'm in like I'm like a tunnel, like I don't even know what to do with myself, right? Rashi, right? So, but there used to be Rashi wasn't bolded, so Talmud was the first one to ever bold the Divrei HaMaschil. So I remember one summer, literally, I was very excited about this. I had my Talmud Gemara, and my grandfather looked at it. And he shook his head. He was very upset. I said, Zayti, this is great. No, Rashi's bolded. He said, it's terrible. He says, what's going to happen to the Mesiras Nefesh for learning? He says, what's going to happen? He said, part of learning is looking for Rashi, right? And part of learning is like, I can't find it. So you have a choice. You could give up or you could keep trying. And I was amazed. I was a kid, so I felt like saying, come on, man, get with the times, right? But that's because I was a schnook and I did not know what I was talking about. And only years later did I understand, wow, the godless in that. There's something in looking for Rashi. There's an avoda in that. So I purposely didn't number the paragraphs, right? No, I forgot to number the paragraphs. I meant to. But you see, Chash Baruch is fine for everything. So I'll say, look at the first paragraph. An incredible Gemara here. So look what he writes. He says, right, we're going to do Oz V'Hadar, Aish, Kodesh. So he writes as follows. Ki Isa b'Sanhedrin. So I'll say, it's an incredible story. Ma'aseh b'shnei b'nei Adam shenishbu b'Har HaKarmel. There was a story of two Jews who were taken captive. I will say, it's also amazing how much life changes. Right? When we would have learned the Gemara a year ago about Jews in captivity, so the truth is it would not resonate. The thing about Jews in captivity, whoever heard of such a thing like this, right? I will say, isn't it incredible that even every single time you hear that word, right? Captivity, hostages, you can't help but be pulled into the darkest parts of our current reality. Incredible. So the Gemara talks about two Jews who were taken captive in Har HaKarmel. So we'll say they were taken captive on Har HaKarmel, and they were being marched out. Now the Gemara doesn't tell us where they were being marched to, but two Jews, and their captor was walking behind them. So the Gemara says, Amar lo echad mehem lechavero. So the two Jews are talking to each other. So we'll call them Reuven and Shimon, right? So Reuven says to Shimon, Gamal shemahalechas lefanenu suma ba'achas me'aneh. So Reuven says to Shimon, so just imagine the scene, right? In the back of the line is the captor, then the two Jews. As we're going to see, in front of the two Jews there was a camel, and there were two more men leading the camel. So Reuven turns to Shimon, and he says to Shimon, that camel that's in front of us, suma ba'achas, is blind in one eye. It's blind in one eye. Utu'una shtei nodos, and it's also carrying two skins, like two bags. Achos shel yain v'achos shel shemen. One of wine and one of oil. Ushnei bnei Adam hamanhigin osam, and the two guys who are leading the camel. Echad Yisrael ve'echad Nachri. One is a Jew and one is a Gentile. So what? So Noah says. So that's the end of the conversation. So the captor hears this whole thing and he says, Amar lahen shavai, am kshe oref me'ayin atem yodin. You stiff-necked people. How do you even know what you're talking about? Right? Let's say, there are some people like this, right? They talk about everything in very authoritative tones, right? And you're like, come on, you can't possibly know what you're talking about. Now, in real life, more often than not, they're actually wrong, right? But Lamaisa, so the captor hears, how do you know what you're talking about? Amrulo, so listen to this. So Reuven turns to the captain, I'll explain it to you. Gomo, mi'asam shlefanea, mitzat shera chelas, mitzat she'ena ra ena chelas. So the Yid says like this, he says, I notice that the camel is only eating the vegetation on one side of him and not eating the vegetation on the other side of him. So that must mean that what? It sees out of one eye, it doesn't see out of the other eye. Utuuna shtei nodos achal shayim v'achal shel shemen, and it's carrying two bags, two skins, one of wine, one of oil. How do I know that? Shayayin metafte fishay, because I see there's leakage from each of the bags. So the liquid from one bag seeps into the ground. The liquid from the other bag floats on top. It's thicker, it floats on top. So it leads me to the conclusion that one is wine and one is oil. And the two guys leading the camel, ultimately one is a Yid and one is a Gentile. How do I know this? Nachri nifna l'derech. When the Gentile relieves himself, he just stops right there in the middle of the road and takes care of business. The Yisrael nifna l'tztada. The Yid goes off to the side. Mamish. We're learning. If you're learning Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi, we're mamish learning these halachas now. Right? So a non-Jew goes off to the Jew goes off to the side and takes care of his bodily needs. So what happens? So now the captor hears all this, so he's very intrigued. So what does he do? Radaf acharem umatza kidivreihem. This is incredible. Sure enough, what does he do? He checks it out. Indeed, the camel is blind in one eye. And indeed, one bag is oil, one bag is wine. And indeed, of the two guys in front, one of them is Jewish and one of them is not. So the captor comes back. Ba v'nashkan al roshan. He comes back and he kisses the two Jews on their heads. V'hevian lebesan. He brought them home. V'asalahan su'uda gidol. He made for them a large feast. V'yameraked lifneim. And he danced in front of them. V'amar baruch shebachar bezaro shel Avram. Blessed is Kodesh Baruch Hu who chose the offspring of Avram. V'nosin lemechachmaso, and gives them of his wisdom. U'bechal makom shein holchin na'asin sarim la'adonehem. Wherever they go, they become leaders, or literally again, they become masters of their masters. And after that, upatron v'hochul l'batein l'shalom. And ultimately, again, he freed them. He freed them from captivity, and they went back home. Incredible Maisa. Gemara Maseches Sanhedrin. So the Piaget in my second paragraph. Umedai kamar shazal ma'in kshe oraf l'shei laso. So Rabbi says, here's what's incredible. So Piaget says like this. If you notice the exchange. Right, so the captor overhears the two Jews talking, and he goes over to them. If you notice, what's his lashon? He says to them, "Am kshe oref me'ayin atem yodin." You stiff-necked people, from where do you know the things that you're talking about? Now, again, so ask the Maharsha, what does being stiff-necked have to do with anything? In other words, you could have just said me'ayin atem yodim. From where do you know all of this stuff? What do you mean being stiff-necked? What does that have to do with anything? He says, "Metaretz shayisurim memaut esachachma ve'im kshe oref lachshav al atzon sha'odem chacham Aisha." So we'll leave that for a second. Look at the next paragraph. V'chevon sheshivim parim laTorah efshar lomar shelo al shemisparim levad bechachma kara osam kshe oref hainu shehem am kshe oref lispar gam ata shehem chachamim. So the Piaget says like this. It says it's not just simply the pshat that Jews are smart. Right? In other words, not just the pshat that we possess wisdom wherever we are. But look what he writes. He says, ki tzorech lahav, in the last two lines, ki tzorech lahav and psukim. So listen to this. So the Piaget says, I'm going to explain to you what it means to be an am kshe oref, what it means to be a stiff-necked people. He says, listen to this. This is incredible. So, ki tzorech lahav and psukim shashem amar Moshe Rabbeinu. Ki lo ela b'kirbacha, kam kshe oref ata. So this is after the sin of the golden calf. At the sin of the golden calf, right? Remember again, Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to get the Torah. Klal Yisrael builds a golden calf. Moshe Rabbeinu comes down. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to destroy Klal Yisrael. Now, at the end, Moshe Rabbeinu advocates on their behalf, and Hashem says, I'm not going to destroy them. But what does Hashem say? Hashem says, I am not going to travel in your midst. Instead, I'm going to send a malach. I'm going to send an angel, and the angel will travel with you. I'm not going to travel with you. Why? Baruch Hu said, because you are a stiff-necked people. So watch this. So obviously, again, the idea that we are a stiff-necked people, that's why Kodesh Baruch Hu won't travel in our midst. Turn the page. Page Kuf Lamed. Rak Yishlach Malach. Okay. So what happens? Kodesh Baruch Hu said, listen, you're a stiff-necked people. I don't want to deal with you guys. You're too difficult. So therefore, I'm going to send a malach, an angel, to travel in your midst. Now watch this. Ume'osatam bikesh Moshe Rabbeinu as Hashem shelo yishlach malach rachu yisparach ba'asa yelech imanu. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu do? Moshe says, Kodesh Baruch Hu, no. We don't want a malach. We want you. And how does Moshe Rabbeinu, what's the argument that Moshe Rabbeinu advances to get HaKadosh Baruch Hu to travel in our midst and not to send, not to delegate to a malach? Ki Moshe Rabbeinu pasuk, Yelech no Hashem b'kirbeinu, ki am kishei orefu. See, here it happens. Moshe Rabbeinu says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you need to travel along with us. Why? Not a malach, you need to travel in our midst. Why? Because we are stiff-necked people. So asks the Piaget, the obvious kash. So you hear the exchange? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm not traveling in your midst anymore. I'm going to send the malach, kiam k'shei orafata. You're a stiff-necked people. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem, you have to travel in our midst. Why? Kiam k'shei orefhu. Because we are a stiff-necked people. So the Piaget says, Ve'ech ze'efshar shemitam echad yochichu davar vehifucho. How could the same thing mean the opposite things? In other words, Kodesh Baruch Hu is saying Ki am k'shei oref ata, and it's a disparaging statement. Moshe Rabbeinu is clearly using it as a compliment because he's using it to advocate. And he's saying, Kodesh Baruch Hu, you have to travel within our midst. Why? Because we are a stiff-necked people. So how could that one phrase mean something positive and derogatory at the same time? Hashem said, because we're stiff-necked, he's going to send a malach. Moshe Rabbeinu amar shebishol shem k'shei oref lo yishlach malach rak Hashem bi'atzmo yelech imanu. So here the kasha. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I'm not going to travel with you because you're an am k'shei oref. You're stiff-necked people. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem, you have to travel with us because we're an am k'shei oref. So which one is it? Is k'shei oref bad? Is k'shei oref good? So we'll say this is beautiful. Look what the Piaget writes. He says, "Inyan k'shei oref hi achos hama'alos hachitovos." So the Rebbe said, "I will say this is. I think you've come to see that throughout our journey. So how long have we been learning Piaget now already?
782 years.
782 years, and we haven't finished one sefer, right? And so however long we've been learning it, I think one of the things you consistently see in the Piaget is the Piaget. It's not like you ever learn a piece and you're like, oh my gosh, I never heard that concept before in my life. The power of the Piaget, regardless of the Piaget, is the ability to take things that we know already, but to bring them to life in a way that we were never fully able to articulate. And to allow us to tap into things in a way that we already knew, but maybe I didn't know how to apply it, or maybe I didn't know how to properly articulate it or properly to think about it. So look at the Piaget says. We'll say this is one of these concepts. The Rebbe says, being a stiff-necked people, am k'shei oref, is one of the greatest accomplishments of our people. He says one of the greatest milas. What's the word for mila? Attributes. Yeah, one of the greatest attributes. The greatest attributes. Listen to this. Kimisha eno kasha or most get ready for this. Somebody who's not stiff-necked, hafachfach v'kalhu. I will say hafachfach is such a good word, right? You can even see it, by the way, even if you don't know Hebrew, you can see it in the word itself what it means. What does hafachfach mean? Flip-flop, right? Hafachfach. You're always back and forth. I will say, do you know, like one of the most, because it's like election season, right? And it's important. And again, just to remind us, remember, we all have. It is a great privilege that we have in this country to be able to vote, and it is incredibly important. Whoever you're going to vote for, to exercise that right. The greatest mistake that people make is they think my vote doesn't matter. Is that a sticker? Okay, incredible.
I was hiding it until you said it.
I think it's upside down. I see which party you're affiliated with. Hafachfach.
You vote early and you vote often.
Again, just I'll say, but sometimes, like, I think one of the things that is often so infuriating about politics is that hafachfach thing. That sometimes it's really about just saying what you know people want to hear in order to get the vote. And again, it's not just it's you see this a lot of times in leadership, in life. It happens. People are like that, right? Because they'll say at the end of the day, we want to be liked, we want to be popular, we want to be accepted. So the Rebbe says in life, there are two states. What are the two states? You're either hafachfach or you're kshei oref. Those are the two choices. So hafachfach means you go with the wind, you flip flop. Kshei oref means you stand for something and you are immobile. And nothing could move you from it. He says, hafachfach v'kalu, pam kach upam kach. So if you're hafachfach, right, if you're flip-flop, then today you stand for this, and tomorrow you stand for this, and today this is popular, and tomorrow that's popular, and today you're advocating for this, and tomorrow you're advocating for that. And what do you stand for? Whatever is the flavor of the day. You know, whatever is most popular, whatever will gain you the most credibility, whatever it is. But it changes. Ein yucholum higamer imo. The problem just is, you can't really, a person like that never really finishes anything. Why doesn't he finish anything or she finish anything? Why not? Because at the end of the day, what you stand for today, you don't stand for tomorrow. So it's hard in life to accomplish anything if you don't have a set of standards and a set of goals that are your guiding light for a consistent and ongoing basis. So what? So the PHS is relating this in the spiritual sense. So a person can be a spiritual hafachfach. What's spiritual hafachfach? So today I serve Kodesh Baruch Hu, right? I'm inspired. I like it. And tomorrow, what's tomorrow? I'm sorry.
You don't, sir.
Right. Tomorrow I'm tired. Right? So when I'm tired, I need to take care of me. Right? I need me time. That's a fach. So today I'm on, tomorrow I'm not on. Today I'm interested, today I'm not interested. Listen to this. Now, what's the danger of being a fach? Listen to this. Obefrat kishet sorich la'amod b'nisayon lo yuchal chas v'chalila. See, I both said the greatest danger of being a fach is that when you find yourself in the midst of a life test, you will inevitably fail. Because if you don't stand for something, if you don't have an immutable and unchangeable set of values, as Rabbi Soloveitchik says, if you don't have that spiritual lodestar, if you don't have that immobile guiding light, this is what I believe, these are my guiding principles, then when you are tested in life, Piaget says, you will fail because you have nothing guiding you. Because when adversity strikes, when adversity comes along, you'll simply crumble. You'll find the path of least resistance to navigate through, and that's it. He says, Masha'en Kain, let's listen to this. Masha'en Kain, Hakshei Oref. What about someone who's stiff-necked? Listen to this. He says, Ish Yasharhu. So everyone say, listen to how he describes it. What's a Kshei Oref? Kshei Oref is a straight person. Kishemedabrim imo, upo'alim bo, shiyachlit bedaito la'avodas Hashem, as betuchin bo shikein yasa. Both say, what's a Kshei Oref? So first, number one, a Kshei Oref is someone who could clearly articulate his life ideals, his spiritual lodestar, his compass, his guiding life principles. He could articulate it. And at the end of the day, he says, as betuchin bo shikein yasa, he's going to execute. Whatever he started, he's going to execute ultimately. He goes on, and the stronger or the stiffer your neck is, the greater the probability that you will pass life's tests. Incredible. I'll say, by the way, but isn't it incredible? It's like, we always speak about this. Right? In life, there's no pariv. The only pariv you're going to find is in your kitchen. Right? But otherwise, it's milchiks or fleishiks. You're either a hafachfach or you're a Kshei Oref.
So it's everything or nothing.
It's everything or nothing. In other words,
I thought that was a trick of the Yitzhahara to make you think it's everything.
No, so obviously, again, even if you're a Kshei Oref, it doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. So of course you make mistakes. But in terms of like, what do you believe? What attitude? What are your hashkafas? What are your ideals? So in other words, just now we all know that I could have many ideals. It doesn't mean I live up to them every single day. but at least they're not changing. They're immutable. So the Piagetna says, if you are Kshe Oref, then when life presents you with difficult challenges, you will pass. You will pass. If you're a Fach, then 9.9 out of 10 times, you will fail. You will fail. He goes on, he says, Achrahu, here's the problem, says the Piaget. No? Here's the problem. Achrahu, imak she'orav k'shemishtamesh shemidas zulura u'mesakin sh'daran. Now, I remember again, one of the most beautiful things that a person has to recognize in Yiddishkeit, in Chassidus writes, we saw this actually in Sidkas HaTzadik. The Sidkas HaTzadik, Reb Tzaddik writes about this a lot, that in life there are really no bad midos or no bad kochos. It's all about how you channel everything. So if someone were to ask you, is being a Kshe Oref good or bad? What's the answer? What's the answer?
Depends.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. In other words, it's good if I use it for good, and it's bad if I use it for bad. In other words, so a person could be a kshe oref with dvarim ra'im, or midos ra'os chas v'chalila, v'zeu k'mo b'chol midos tovos k'shemishtam shemahal ra, k'midas ha'chesed yavar. He makes an amazing observation. We'll say, the Piaget writes something amazing. He says, do you know how the Torah refers to immorality as? What word does the Torah use for immorality? Chesed. Immorality is referred to as chesed. So strange. We'll say, what's chesed? What's chesed? It's being nice to people. What's immorality? Being nice to too many people too often and all the wrong people, right? In other words, so I'll say if you think about it, so immorality is a perversion, literally a perversion of the concept of chesed. So on one hand, I need this energy, I need this koach of chesed. So I could use it to help people, or I could use it to destroy myself and to destroy others. It's the same koach. It's the same energy. It's just I'm sorry? It's Kadesha, correct. Right? Right. What is a harlot called? The harlot is called the Kadesha. Right? Because what is she? What is she? She is someone who has designated herself for something. What's Hekdish? Hekdish is something that has been designated for something. It's the same thing. It's just a lahavdil. It's just a question of what you designate yourself for. Some people designate themselves for immorality. Some people designate themselves for kedusha. I will say, by the way, I just want to point out, this concept I've come to find is the most liberating concept, because a lot of times in life, when we want to change things about ourselves, so we think that in order to become the best version, to self-actualize, I have to fundamentally eradicate and change things about myself. And that's very hard. Reb Tzaddik writes out, he says, no. All you need to do to affect change in your life is to rechannel. There's no bad koach that you have. You just have to figure out how to rechannel. So for example, let's say a person struggles with anger. Right? So a person who has problems with anger, what does it mean? What does he have a lot of? Passion. Passion is powerful. Passion is powerful. So now my avoda is, people think so my avoda is to stop getting angry. That's the Rambam writes in Hilchos Deos, right? The Rambam writes, if you have a problem with anger, what should you do? Just stop. Just stop it. Right? Who is that? Newhart, right. Just stop it. Just stop it. So the Rambam says, but Reb Tzaddik says something even a little bit more nuanced. Reb Tzaddik says, no, you're getting angry because you're a passionate person. Great. Channel it. So ultimately, again, you're a Kadesha, so channel it, become Kodesh. So Kshe Oref is complicated also, because a person can use Kshe Oref in all the wrong ways. Skip a little bit. He says, listen to this. So we'll say, now I understand the exchange. Watch, let me tell you this outside. So after the Chet Egel, what happens? Hashem says to Moshe, I'm not traveling in their midst. Why? Ki lo ela b'kirbecha, ki am Kshe Oref ata. Chaj Baruch Hu says, there is no way I'm traveling in their midst. Do you know why? There are stiff-necked people. I will say, why were we stiff-necked? I will say, do you understand what it means that Klal Yisrael stood by the base of Har Sinai? They saw the Ribbon Shalom, whatever it means to see Hashem. They heard HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ribbon Shalom himself said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, lo yeh lecha elokim acherim. He says the first two dibros to them. Okay, they get a little bit panicked with Moshe not returning. So what do? They build a golden calf. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, what is the matter with you people? You are an Am Kshe Oref. Because what happens, you meet people like this where they get something in their mind, right? And you can't move them. You can't move them. And it's not just like kids who are 3. It's like adults who are 43, right? In other words, people get into this and you wonder, you're so foolish. Why don't you look outside of yourself for a second? Maybe you're right, but maybe you're wrong. People become so entrenched in Kodesh Baruch Hu says, how entrenched and how myopic do you have to be to build a golden calf literally at the base of Har Sinai, the greatest revelation that mankind ever experienced, communion between heaven and earth. God himself spoke to us and literally again revealed himself in some way to us. And you build a golden calf there because you're so convinced that this is what's needed. What a ksheoraf. Chassidus says, you know what? I can't deal with these guys. I mean, those guys are us, but I'm saying I can't deal with that. I can't travel in the risk. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? Ribono shel olam, I love you, but listen to your words. You need to travel with us. Why? Yelech nasham b'kirbeinu ki am kshe oref hu. Yeah, I know we're kshe oref. So you're right. Chet Egel was an example of using that beautiful midah in all the wrong ways. But a Kodesh Baruch Hu, don't look at the manifestation or the result of the midah. Look at the midah. Look how strong-willed these people are. Look at who they are. Look at what they are. Look at what they could accomplish when they put their mind to it. You know what I say? It takes a lot of chutzpah to build a golden calf at the boughs of Mount Sinai. Now, I'm not giving us a shkoyach for that, but I mean, like, as far as like Averis go, it's pretty impressive. Right? It's pretty impressive. Like you need a lot of singular dedication, and you really got to be full in. Right? They're getting the jewelry, they're getting the gold, they're getting the this. It is clear. So it's almost, you can almost see the exchange that Chassidus Baruch Hu is like, so he's like upset, he's angry, he's hurt, he's offended, so to speak. Kiviyachol. I'm not traveling in your midst. And you could almost see Moshe Rabbeinu almost, maybe, perhaps, probably not, but almost like chuckling a little bit and almost saying, Ribono shel olam, Yelech na Hashem b'kirbeinu, ki am kshe horafu. Yeah, I got it. But look at the power of this people. Look at the power of this nation. Look at who they are, and look at what they are. And look, when they put their mind to something, look how strong and immobile they become. Moshe Rabbeinu says they made a big mistake. But if we could just rechannel the energy, then there is no telling what they can accomplish. And again, the Piagetna goes on, and he explains that at the end of this piece, he goes on and he explains that this was the distinction between Avraham and Noach. He said Avraham possessed the Kshe Oref. Noach didn't possess the Kshe Oref. That's how the Piaget. If you look at the last paragraph, he says, Avram Avinu haylo nisyonos v'prat minimrod sheshlicho lekiv shana Aish v'zeh shapir shashi shezeh haya chilik bei Noach li Avram Avinu. Noach haya tzarech sa'ad letamcho. So Noach needed a Kodesh Baruch Hu to support him. Es mi tomchem, es anofel. Who do you support? Someone who's in danger of falling. Ki behamnius nafal. Without the support, he would fall down. Vayitzar sheitmuchu v'yichazkei Kodesh Baruch Hu ba'avodaso. Aval Avram haya mischazek u'mahalech b'tzidko me'elov lo hischil linpo rak hischazek ba'atzlo me'elov. So that's the Piaget's and the posits was the fundamental distinction between Avram Avinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That Avram Avinu possessed Kshe Oref, and I skipped all the way to the last paragraph. Sorry, page Kuf Lamed Beis. And Noach did not, yes.
Even Noach proves that point. That with a little nurturing or guidance, he ultimately stood in the face of everybody telling him you're nuts.
That's what I'm saying. I am no one to argue on the Piaget's, but I always feel that any of these ideas that kind of diminish the greatness of Noach, I don't know, to me,
not diminishing, but he actually ended up showing it. Correct. So I'll say, leaving aside the Vart from Noach, which is beautiful, I'll say, but what a profound yesod. The Piaget's, and I will say you have to appreciate something, which is context. Where is the Piaget's writing this? 1941, Parshas Noach. Tafshin Aleph was 1940, not 1941, sorry. 1940, Warsaw Ghetto. So do you understand what he's saying? Do you understand what he's saying? What he's saying to that Kehila of the brokenhearted, of the Warsaw Ghetto, he's saying, Chevra, stay strong. We are the people of Kshe Oref. We are the people who built the golden calf. Shkoyach to us. Now, not really shkoyach to us, but what it shows us is the type of resolve that we have. And if we could just channel that, you see what I say? Because life, what does Piaget ultimately teach us? You have to choose a side. I mean, like right now, you have to choose a side. Are you a fach or are you Kshe Oref? And there's no like, I'm going to get back. I'm going to sleep on it. Right? I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to let you know by tomorrow. Either you're a fachfach or a kshei oref. And I will say, by the way, a non-answer is an answer also. Because by definition, if you are not a kshei oref, by definition, I'm a hafachfach. That's it. And I will say, no one wants to be a fachfach. But at the end of the day, if I don't have a set of immutable rules by which I live by, right? If I don't have things, and again, we see this all the time in our Yiddishkeit. A lot of times we do things when they're convenient, right? It works for me, so I'll do it. And if it doesn't work, then I'm not going to do it. Okay? Again, now I want to be clear. Even if you do that, shkoyach to you, because at the end of the day, you're still doing it sometimes. You get credit for that. Just understand, that's called hafachfach. In life, it's important to know where I'm holding and where I'm standing. So if I do things when they're convenient, but don't do things when they're not convenient, shkoyach, you get credit for every single time you do something good, but that's called hafachfach. Kshei oref is the person ultimately who says, this is what I stand for, this is who I am, and no matter what happens, I'm going to see this through. I'm going to see this through, and I'm not backing down for anyone or anything. So understand the context in the Piaget that says the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto. And I will say, I think that as we enter into Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan, so much of the challenge of this month is keeping up the inspiration of Tishrei. Right? Tishrei is such an inspiring month, and we came off a Simchas Torah that was just overwhelming. Oh, absolutely overwhelming, and a Shabbos Bereshis that was Baruch Hashem, just ridiculous. I have to yeah, that's right. That was just ridiculously overwhelming. And one of the great challenges is that like now it's Cheshvan, I'm back to work. It's complete weeks, right? The clock's going to change, right? The less daylight, like Chazal tell us when there's less daylight, that means you have to maximize more of the nighttime hours. And it's hard. And perhaps what the Piaget is kind of whispering to us from Shamayim is, okay, the way to keep it going is identify what are your core principles. What are the things that you stand for? And by the way, it doesn't just mean what the things that you stand for. Like, what are the things that you believe that are so important that no matter what happens, you're not yielding on them? Whatever. And those are different things. For some people, it might be learning. Every day, I do the daf, I do this, I do that, and nothing gets in my way. Maybe it's tefillah b'tzibur. No matter what, I'm davening. I'm davening with a minyan. I'm making it to shul. I'm doing, or I'm davening. Everybody has to figure it out based on the level in which they're currently living. I want to be a Baal Chesed. So for me, Chesed is part of my daily life. And every day I'm doing 2 acts of Chesed, one way or another. A phone call, a visit, whatever it's going to be, I'm doing it. Whatever it is, the avoda of Cheshvan is to become a kshei oref, is to become stiff-necked, is to identify the things in my life that I know I have to do and that I'm not yielding. Okay. And again, not yielding doesn't mean, like Zara said before, not yielding doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Of course I'm going to fail. Of course I'm going to fall. But at least, and from an ideological perspective, these are the things that I'm not giving in on. These are the things that I'm not yielding on. I'm sure if I'm going to be stiff-necked. And if we could find that stiff-neckedness. That doesn't sound right.
How does he? What's the context of the Shvuyin Gemara?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, but I didn't finish it. Right. So okay. In the 1 minute that we have left, or over the 1 minute that we have left. So what does that have to do with the Gemara? So what the captor was so amazed by was like this. You would think that people in captivity would stop looking for the deeper meaning in the events that occurred all around them. But instead, what does the captor see? The captor see that even these 2 Jews, these 2 Yidden, these 2 hostages who are being let out, their mind is looking for deeper meaning in everything. The camel's only eating from here. Why is that? It's the 2 bags are leaking stuff. One is absorbed, one is not. One guy is relieving himself on the road. The other guy's relieving himself on the side. What does that represent? That represents a mindset of always looking for something deeper, of always trying to understand. So we'll say, so what does that mean? So the captor says, you Jews, you're so stiff-necked, you're such am kshe oref, that even when you're being led out in captivity, you're looking for deeper meaning in stuff. Stop it. Stop it. Why don't you just, like the rest of humanity, just focus on survival and stop looking for deeper meaning in things? So that was the pshat. That's the pshat that says that's going to be a kshe oref. So the captor was so amazed that Jews are always looking for deeper meaning in everything, even in the midst of such overwhelming and such overwhelming and compromised circumstances. And Abosai, that becomes our avodah as well. This is our avodah for Cheshvan, to identify the areas. Maybe it's one area, maybe it's two areas, to say, you know what, in this thing in life, I am a ksherf. But it has to be real. It's not like, don't make it like, dinner. I'm going to be a ksherf when it comes to eating dinner, right? For me, dinner is Yaharik Valyar. We're always going to eat dinner, at least 2 courses. This is my thing. No, obviously we're talking about meaningful spiritual things in life. What are the things in which you are going to have a stiff neck? What are the things in life which you're going to say, these are the things that I do, these are the things that I stand for, and no matter what, nisayon, good times, difficult times, at the end of the day, I am going to maintain a stiff neck, and I am never going to yield. And if we could yes?
29th of Tishrei, Toshinal, was Thursday, October 31st, 1940.
Same exact date.
Wow. Oh my God.
Wow. Thursday, October 31st, 1940. Wow. Wow.
Never stop searching for the...
Never stop searching. Never stop searching. It was incredible. So we'll say in this Suchos, Baruch Hashem, we should just all be zocher. The Piazetzna was a kshe oref. The godless of Piazetzna, say literally again until his last breath. He was learning, he was teaching, he was a Baal Chesed. And those are the shoulders we stand on. We stand on the shoulders of a generation of precious Yidden who just were kshe oref. Sometimes it was good kshe oref, sometimes it was bad kshe oref. But it was always kshe oref. And I just want to point out, by the way, in the exchange of Moshe and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who wins? Moshe Rabbeinu wins. See, at the end of the day, the Shechina started traveling with us again. What does that show you? That the Ribono Shel Olam yielded to Moshe Rabbeinu. Said, Moshe, you're right. I got it. And I often imagine this exchange. Like the Ribono Shel Olam smiling. Sometimes like when your kid outsmarts you, you're like, all right. So sometimes like it's a little bit like, why didn't I think of that? But then it's like the nachas. Nitzchuni banai. My children have outsmarted me. Baruch Hu says, you're right. They are an am kshe oref, and therefore I will travel along with you. And I will say the way to keep the Shechina with us is to continue that midah, to channel it in the right way, and in that suchos, maybe Zoche Meretz Hashem, to turn Mar Cheshvan and Meretz Hashem B'Shatol Maslachos into Ram Cheshvan. Anyone here? First year outside.